I'm Riley,
And I'm Ronnie,
and this is the Plan to Eat podcast.
where we have conversations about meal planning, food, and wellness to help you answer the question, what's for dinner? Hello, and thank you for listening to another episode of the Plan to Eat podcast. Today we are interviewing Elle Gadient. She is a farmer advocate for Niman Ranch, and Niman Ranch is a community of hundreds of independent family farmers and ranchers who raise pork, beef, and lamb traditionally, humanely, and sustainably.
Ellie grew up on a diversified farm in Iowa and raised livestock, including Niman Ranch pigs. We had the opportunity to meet Ellie at an Edible Institute event in Denver several weeks ago. And today we just talked to her about her story and about what Niman Ranch is, about the importance of how animals are treated, and then the products that Niman Ranch puts out and why they are high quality and why you should purchase them.
All right, Ellie, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. We appreciate you taking some time to be here. And we want to say congratulations on making the Forbes 30 under 30 list.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm just so honored. I can't believe it.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
big deal for sure.
It's not just like a pretty big deal, it's like a gigantic deal.
Yeah.
Forever, you will be on Forbes 30 under 30 in the year 2022. That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Why don't we jump in and you just tell us a little bit about you and your role at Niman Ranch?
Thank you. I'm Elle Gadient. I'm the Niman Ranch Farmer Advocate. I grew up on a family farm in eastern Iowa, and we raised hogs and cattle. And the hogs we sold to Niman Ranch. That's how I originally got involved. And then throughout college, I was a scholarship through their Next Generation Foundation that led to an internship in the communications team. And then they created this role to better support farmers.
That's awesome. So, what is your general day to day look like? Like, I mean, you said they created this role. So I'm guessing they kind of created it because they wanted you to fill this position. So, like, what does that look like to be a farmer's advocate?
Oh, I'll start with today. I just had the best morning. So I started my morning. We have this farmer mentor board, and it's experienced farmers that are in this group to better support beginning farmers because it's really challenging, of course, just getting into farming with the land access and debt. But then also Niman Ranch, we raise pigs without antibiotics and we raise them outdoors in deeply vetted pens. So there's more learning curves on how to have the lowest stress environment. So this board is training and being a resource for new farmers. And we had a call this morning discussing what more we can do to support those beginning farmers. So that was the best start to the day. And then overall, it's my role is amplifying those voices, so bringing those voices up to Niman Ranch leadership and always representing the farmers in company decisions and how we're navigating through the changing market.
Wow. So tell me about the area that you cover. Or how many farmers are you interacting with?
Over 600 families that are in the network, and my family is one of those. We're in over 20 states. Many of the farmers are from Iowa, where I grew up, and with that too. So advocating for sharing their stories, but also building resources and how I can create more resources like that mentor program is something that I started at Nyman and or relaunched. They had it years ago, and then we relaunched it recently. And then with their scholarships and grants, how we can reach more families with that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so I was reading I think it was a blog post on the Niman Ranch website that the average age of a conventional farmer is around 60 years old right now. And Niman Ranch farmers, the average age is about 20 years younger. It was like 42 or 43.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing like your job, some of these like advocacy programs that you're creating kind of play into that, right? Like helping younger farmers get into the space so that we can continue to have farmers as we all get older too.
And that's what we're really proud of for the programs that I'm leading with the foundation, with that mentor program, but also just Nyman Ranch as an opportunity. It's a niche opportunity. People can get started as small farmers and I could just have a few pigs as I'm getting started. And you don't need a lot of land. You don't need a lot of capital to invest to have this opportunity and this training to help you grow and help diversify your farm. And what was so appealing to my family is the stability of Niman Ranch. You have this low cost needed to get started with it, but then you're getting paid a premium because you're going above and beyond in your raising practices. We follow strict protocols to care for the animals. And by taking those extra steps, we really say a labor of love that we're putting into it, and we're being rewarded. And no matter what happens to the market, there's always the stability of our price we're paid.
And for a farmer, I mean, I feel like that's stability is not usually the name of the game, right? Because you really are at the whim of weather and a lot of other things, health of animals. And so I guess that is just such reassurance for farmers who really love the animals that they're raising. Yeah.
Just especially now, grain prices are really high, land prices are at record high, and to have this stability, and especially for beginning farmers who haven't experienced these high market fluctuations in their time farming, to have at least they have that something that's stable and the strong community of the fellow like-minded farmers to be there for support.
What are the protocols that they have to meet for their animals?
Ooh, and our protocols are unique. We have never ever antibiotics, which is different than no antibiotics or antibiotic free. Doesn't mean that they were never given antibiotics. And how we do this is we raise the animals in lower stress environments. We have bigger space requirement per animal. On our farm, they're born out on pasture. They're with their mothers longer than the conventional systems. They're with their mothers for at least 4 weeks, the baby pigs are. And then they stay with their litter throughout their lives on the farm. And for us, they always have access to sunshine on our farm. And who doesn't that make feel better? So space is a big one, the low stress environment. And then like humane animal care focus. So there's never ever tail docking, cutting their tails or teeth clipping, which is different than lots of the industry. And then a huge topic right now with California has a Proposition 12 law that just went to the Supreme Court, and it bans the sale of pork when the mothers were kept in crates throughout their pregnancy. And for Niman Ranch, the sows, which are mother pigs, are never ever in crates.
That's fantastic. Sounds like a good life.
Yeah, it sounds like Niman Ranch is going to then be the preferred pork option in California if that goes through because you guys will be you're already on that track. So that's awesome. I think we all have our personal reasons for like why we would want animals to be treated humanely when they're being raised, but is there like a different components to like just like why I don't know exactly what the word, but like just humane treatment of animals is important for, like the food that you're eating and, the livestock and all that?
We think so for Niman Ranch overall, the the way the animals are raised, they get more exercise. They are in those lower stress environments, not needing the therapeutic antibiotics throughout their lives. Translates into the meat quality. So there's more marbling in the meat, more intermuscular fat. It is phenomenal if you haven't tried Niman Ranch pork. And then also for my family personally, it's the quality of life for us and for our animals. They're our livelihood, and we really do. We love them. They're like each life of them matters to us, and making sure that they're having a good life is very important to us. And that's why we do this extra labor in raising our animals outdoors and with access to sunshine, because we think it's best for them.
That makes me think, I think you actually told this to Riley. So we met Ellie at an edible event in Denver and you guys were talking about livestock and like you said just a really powerful statement which is just like these animals only ever have one bad day in their life, which I think is such a powerful statement, such a good thing to consider when you're thinking about like, the food that you're eating and how it's treated and everything. I really loved that.
Thank you. And I truly believe it too. Riley and I bonded over our love of cows. And it is, you have them in their life, especially if you have a bottle calf, and you just love them looking forward to your time together every morning and evening. And then eventually, when it comes to market time, she'd ask how I dealt with that. And that's what I think of. I loved them and gave them the best life possible their whole life. And it's just that only that one day
Yeah,
that
that's
isn't.
good.
And through it all, we respect and honor that.
Yeah, cows are an interesting one. I have a couple of bottle calves myself, and one thing I learned about cows is that they can recognize faces. So they know people. So they know me. When I go out to feed them, they know me. And the longer that I've had them, the more that I feel like they actually do know me. And I know that that sounds silly, but they're not like dogs. They're different than that. But there's this element of like, they know why I'm there. I'm there to give them food. So they love me. But I just feel like that I interact with them. And like one of them in particular is a little bit feisty and he always tries to get out of the pen when I open it up. And but he plays me. He does not play my husband. He, like, interacts with us very differently when we go to feed him, and he'll try to sneak out and open kinda, like, nudge the door open a little bit to try to get out, and it never happens to my husband, it always happens to me, and but it's just he knows who I am. He knows he can do that to me, and he can't to my husband, so, um, I don't know, that's just a side story about sweet cows.
I love it. Each one has their own personality, and you really get to know that throughout their life, and I love it too. My Jenny was a bottle calf of mine, I don't know how long ago, and she's always been the sassiest girl. And you move cows, she does it to all of us, if it's my parents or I, and she'll go the opposite direction, and she pretends she can't see you, and it just cracks me up that she's so sassy.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
So then the farm that you grew up on, you guys did you have both cattle and hogs or just hogs?
Yeah,
Okay.
cattle and hogs. The hogs we sold to Niman Ranch, and the cattle we sell locally.
Oh, okay, great. Cool.
That's awesome.
And then that family farm is back in Iowa, right? Okay.
Yes,
But you're in Colorado, close to us, right?
yes, I'm in Colorado. I worked at our Niman Ranch office is in Westminster, and so I came out to be in the office, but I get back to Iowa very often, and I'm working on my transition back to the farm. I do miss it, and I miss the animals so much.
Do you have siblings? Is your family farm multi-generational?
Yes, my brother is also involved, my little brother Johnny, and then both my parents are involved as well. And then we
Awesome.
bought the farm. Part of our farm was my grandparents' farm where my mom grew up. And we bought the neighboring farm when I was a kid, which was the best way to grow up. We were on the farm and then just we could walk to grandma and grandpa's house.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to be close to family, and hopefully you guys had to get to have, like, delicious grandma family dinners and stuff.
Oh, yes.
One thing that you talked to us about, when we chatted with you before was, that you are not a huge meat eater. And so I'd actually like to talk about that because I think that's a unique position that you're in, being a farmer and respecting animals and loving animals but choosing to consume animal products. But, like, how you balance that, I would love to hear your story on that because I really enjoyed hearing it before, and I'd like to for our audience to hear it too.
I I believe in less meat, better meat when available because I care so much about the animals, so much about my family farm. I prioritize, I only want to be supporting my family farms and farms like that. The people who are putting in the extra effort to take care of their animals, to love their animals, to care for the land, and for that to be raised or food to be raised by family farmers. And to do that, I am very mindful of where I purchase meat. Of course, I buy from Niman Ranch, and often when I go back home to the farm, then I bring back a cooler of fresh meat because I just want to make sure that I'm putting my money where I want to be supporting and helping businesses like my family thrive. And we'd also talked about when I was in college, I was a vegetarian, and it was to be like fight back against industrial agriculture and the the big meat packers in the industry and that are running the small family farms out of business. And I get really worked up about this. So I was vegetarian throughout college, and I didn't have as much access to be purchasing Niman Ranch, and I wasn't investing as much in researching where my food was coming from. So at the time, that's what I did. But then after, I realized I'm not supporting what I want to if I'm not supporting anything. And then that's what got me into eating meat on my family's farm, or if I was at a friend's house in Iowa, they had a farm, and then moving it to a bigger scale for buying meat and buying eggs that are ethically sourced.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the phrase "less meat, better meat."
Mhm.
And then also just the way that you kind of came about that in your story of just if you're not doing anything, you're not supporting the people that you want to support. And so making that choice and that pretty dramatic change in your life to support like your heart's mission, because even just I wish people could see you talking about this right now because you can see it like welling up in you, just how you feel about the animals, but how you feel about even just supporting local agriculture and supporting Niman Ranch, and because you know their mission and what they stand for. So I love that.
Thank you. And with that, I'm spending more. That's how I got to the less meat, better meat, because I'm spending more on what I'm buying because I'm investing in things I really care about and places that that dollar is getting back to the farmer.
Yeah. For people who maybe this is a new conversation for. Why do these products cost more? And I know that that really relates to the way that they're treated, but if you don't mind talking to us about that. So when they're in the store and they're looking at the prices of different products, have like a little checklist in their mind of what they know and why it might cost a little more.
For us, I'll start with on the farm side. There's different ways, of course, of raising our animals, and there's the way of the least cost, or there's the way of the highest quality. In our family, our focus is the highest quality. So we're paying for more nutritious ingredients for the feed, for the additives for the feed. We're having the vitamin and mineral mixes that are tailored to our farm. We're having different things we put in seed, like apple cider vinegar and oregano essential oil blends, which is cool because I take these things to be healthy during cold and flu season. But we're also giving those to our animals to boost their immune system because we're not using antibiotics. And with that, we're not pushing the animals to grow as fast as they can, which would be a lower cost way. We're having them be as healthy as they can while they're growing up. So we're putting more into what we're planting to feed them, what we're purchasing, and all of the ingredients, and like even their bedding, making sure they have quality bedding, that they're rooting through and staying warm, staying cool in. And then when that goes to Nyman Ranch is because they're paying that premium to the farmer, more of that money is costing the farmer more. Nyman Ranch is paying that farmer for that added cost and giving them the premium. Plus, we're investing in all of these programs to support more farmers with the scholarships, the grants, that mentor program that we talked about. That's why for us it's costing more because there's so many people to support it down the line. And then in addition, what I love about Nyman is we're working with those small family farmers. We're also working with a lot of small distributors or family owned distributors, I mean, family owned grocery stores. And all of these people who like the value added and they have that true appreciation of the value added.
Right. Well, it sounds like it doesn't just support humane treatment of animals, but it also is supporting lots of people, hopefully lots of people in your local community as well. So, I know that you can buy Nyman Ranch at a big place like Whole Foods, but I'm guessing that you can
Mhm.
also buy it at some of the smaller grocery stores. I don't know, all across the country. Is Nyman available all across the country?
We're available all across the country and some broadliners like Whole Foods, Natural Grocers, Sprouts, but many are independent grocery stores. And on our website, for anyone interested, we have a store locator. It's Nyman Ranch Where to Buy, nymanranch.com/where to buy. And there you can find a grocery store near you.
Oh, awesome.
One thing I wasn't expecting you to say was that it goes towards, like, the mentorship program, and things like that, and it makes sense. But to me, when you're purchasing this kind of product, you're ensuring that that product will be available to you for the long run and for your children, et cetera, because, and it's I think I love that because, it means it's still gonna be there in the future, and so it's, like, built in. It's like this purchase is helping to fund future farmers and helping them have excellent livestock, excellent products from their farm, which I think is a really big deal, and something I wouldn't have considered. Like I said, I really wasn't expecting you to say that, but that's really awesome.
Thank you. And that reminded me too of how it does help our local communities. We did a research study last year with Iowa State University and found that Niman Ranch Farms are these independent family farms who are raising pigs the Niman Ranch way with our labor of love. We're they're putting 150% more jobs into their local economies than the alternate industrial model. And that's because, um, of course, the more labor that goes into it, but like our family, we're an independent family farm. We're working with our independent feed store, with our local veterinarian, with our local grocery store. And this money is going back into our local economy. And this is going back into rural America across the country.
That's great. We probably should have gotten to this a little bit earlier, but I'm wondering if you can tell us, like how Niman Ranch got started. What was the starting point and who started it?
Niman Ranch was started, it was, the Niman Ranch in California. They were a cattle they raised cattle, and they were in the antibiotic-free model, and how we got involved in Iowa was Paul Willis, he's our founding hog farmer. He had come back to the farm in the '90s, and there were all of these, confinement buildings, CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations, going up around him, and the price of hogs was declining, so he was looking for an alternate market. And he went out to California to visit a friend, and then his friend, Jeannie McCormick, is a Niman Ranch lamb rancher now. She was talking about there's this big interest in free range products here in California. And it just started with just Paul Willis in Iowa sending his hogs out to California, or his pork out to California, where all the demand was. And then there was so much growing demand that he brought on his neighbors. And then now we have over 600 in the network that we're helping and supporting and partnering with to keep their family farm alive.
Wow. And then so all of these other, I mean, because Nyman is so unique in the fact that you guys do have you have the scholarship fund, you have the mentorship, all of these things. So did that just grow out of, like the farmers and the people working for Nyman seeing that there was a need for that? Like how did that part come about too?
Yes, for the scholarship program in 2006, David Surfling was a Niman Ranch farmer. Every Niman Ranch farmer is so cool, but he's also so cool. He was involved with writing the original conservation stewardship program, which is a program for farmers and people to conserve their land and get money from the money incentive from the government. It's super cool. Lots of farmers take advantage of this program. But he passed away tragically, and he was very invested in higher education and creating more resources for farmers, for helping local farmers get started. In his memory, they started a scholarship that year, and it has grown over the years to be last year we just passed over $1 million has been awarded in scholarships and grants to farmers. And then with the mentor program too. When Nyman originally got started, there were lots of people who were raising pigs, small family farms who just had a few pigs they were raising. And then as the industry has consolidated quickly and that has gone to the wayside, there's not as many people who are growing up raising pigs anymore. So we're seeing this need that this education that I grew up with on how to raise these pigs, lots of people don't have this opportunity, but we still want to help them not only with the opportunity to partner with Nyman, but the opportunity to be successful. And that's where the mentor program came from.
If people wanna get involved with Niman Ranch, is the mentorship program kind of like a requirement partially also? Because you kinda build them into your processes and, kinda, how it all goes, how it all works and, if it is required?
They're open, they're welcome to participate as much or as little as they're interested, and their mentor will check in with them, and they're open to visiting or calling as much as they'd like. So some people are very, very active in it, and then there's other people who they grew up on the farm and they're feeling confident and thanks for the call, but we're feeling good. They may be working with their parents yet or their
Mm.
aunts or uncles.
Sure, yeah.
I love it. That's my favorite part of my job is getting to work on the farmer mentor program, getting to know all of these farm families, and just you get ideas from each one on what would be helpful for them, or they've always wanted to do like this mentor program. Like we've always wanted to help more farmers in our community, but we're not meeting farmers that are raising hogs anymore. And just there's just so many things. And then there's people who love to share their story and connecting them with opportunities to, if it could be with the media or it could be a written blog or traveling to visit Niman Ranch restaurants to, I love tailoring things to help each person succeed.
Yeah, it's really neat that the opportunity exists for someone who may not even have a farming background, but who is excited about this for however they came to be excited about this, to have that process to walk through, and feel supported by other farmers and not just like they're going at it alone. Farming, I feel like is just and maybe this is just a belief that I have, but farming is just family oriented. Like, I just feel like farmers that I know, their parents were farmers, their grandparents were farmers, their kids will be farmers. It's just like this very multi-generational process. But there are people out there who don't have a farming background, but who want to get involved, and this is what they feel like their life's calling is. So the fact that you offer something like that for somebody who's new and passionate about the things that Nyman is passionate about, is a really unique opportunity.
I agree, and I love that. I just recently was looking back, and I'm the fifth generation to be farming in the United States, and I feel really lucky to have gotten to grow up this way, but especially, I feel like my parents' generation, a lot of people left the farms during that time, and I love to see the many niche opportunities like Nyman. Nyman's just one of them for these people who are coming back on a small scale that they can partner with an organization that really cares about them.
Well, I was gonna say I think that's a really special part about an organization like Nyman is that, we all like to eat food and we all like to eat good food, but I think that the production of the food that we eat is often really undervalued, on an individual level, on a societal level. And so it's really great to hear that there are organizations like Nyman who do a really good job of taking care of the people that work for them so that, those people hopefully it does continue to be a multi-generational thing for people because they love what they do. And they don't, I think that part of the reason probably why people in our parents' generation moved away from farming is because they were like, there's no money in this. I'm not treated very well. All of the list of things that are associated with, more conventional industrial farming. So I just think that's really special. And I'm really glad that we're getting to learn that there are people who do still really care about farmers and the industry.
But I just love it. Me too. Thank you. And what's so cool is that each family, it's an independent family farm. So they own their own pigs, they're making their own farm decisions, they're growing crops to feed those that are grow best in their soil or grow best in that local climate. And as long as they're meeting the protocols of Nyman Ranch. And we have field agents that go out and check in with the farmers. They talk to them weekly. We're third party audited by Certified Humane, so it's not just Nyman Ranch making sure that being there for a resource, but also making sure that all of the protocols are met. We have Certified Humane also going out, and then different customers also that buy Nyman Ranch have their own audits to make sure that, or to ensure and see that Nyman Ranch really is what we say it is. And I just believe so deeply in this company and what we're doing.
I actually think that was a really, interesting thing that we learned at that edible event that we met you at, was that I don't think I realized, like, how much farmers do aside from animal husbandry. Like, there's all of these audits that they go through, or, like, in this situation, like, it's not only animal husbandry, it's also growing crops, like, it's a very intensive job, and I think I think this idea of just, like, peeling the layer back a little, like, peeling the curtains back, I guess, to kind of like get a little bit inside of you just gives me so much more respect for what farmers are doing and particularly, farmers who are doing their best to have humane care for their animals.
And I always especially think of it as I'm here in Colorado today working in the warm office and it's snowing and blowing on the farm. And I talked to my dad before work and he's getting bundled up to go outside and check everything that you're doing it every day, no matter the weather. And you're also like with those weather, we're also of course making sure that our animals are comfortable and protected from the weather.
I, did not grow up on a farm. I live on a ranch now, and, you just become so much more connected, to the place where you live and the animals you're raising when you have to spend that much time with them. I don't know. I just don't think it's a very well-known thing. I had a good friend of ours is a cattle rancher in Eastern Colorado, and he couldn't come to my wedding because he had cows being born, because a snowstorm came in that day, and at the time, I was like, "Oh, bummer," and now I'm like, "Yep." I just get it now, and I didn't quite get it as much then. But I just think it's important for people to realize, that there are farmers out there, a lot of farmers out there who this is their life's work, and it's not just like a 9 to 5, it's 24/7, and so for a product like Niman Ranch, meats and things like that, they're going above and beyond that 24/7 because they really, really love the animals they're working with and just to make sure that they're treated beautifully, and I don't know, I just think it's pretty amazing, and I think having cows of my own has really, just grown my appreciation for it and my desire for really high quality products also. Yeah. It's not really a
I
question,
too.
I just think it's important that people know, you know?
I too just appreciate it was reality when I grew up. And then especially though leaving the farm and then going back, I get to go back every spring and fall when we're farrowing, when we're having baby pigs to help on the farm, when we're planting and harvesting, and get to work from home and different times throughout the year. But just so much respect and appreciation. Like we work hard at work, but it's just totally different than that. And it's your sleep, different times of year where you're hardly sleeping because you want to be checking the animals when they're having babies to ensure they're okay, or when you're planting the crops that will feed the animals. And you're just juggling so many things on top of the weather. And it seems like those are the nights that the pigs are so smart that they open the gate and they're out in the middle of the night. And it just that's how it is every day. And you don't think anything of it. And now that I've gone away and I'm going back, just the appreciation and respect I have, and especially for my parents for raising us and this, like, doing all those things and raising kids. It's amazing.
Mhm. Well, before we end, our podcast today, why don't you just, remind everybody, where they can find Niman Ranch online and then where they could find Niman Ranch in their stores?
Thank you. And thanks to everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for having me. Nyman Ranch, we have nymanranch.com / where to buy online. You can find stores near you that are selling Nyman, and you can purchase Nyman Ranch online to be delivered to your store. And if Nyman Ranch isn't near you, there's still ways you could support your local family farmers and get to know people in your area who are farming and who are raising their animals, caring for their land in ways that you want to support. And by supporting them and helping them be successful, helping them have the opportunity to pass that to the next generation is super impactful.
Love that. Okay, well, we like to end our episodes talking a little bit about recipes. So, can you tell us a
Mm.
recipe that you've had recently that you just loved and would like to share with our listeners?
Oh, one my mom and I made that I just love. It's like a taco spaghetti squash, but I do love beef, but I really love pork. So spaghetti squash, and then we put ground pork, beans, spicy tomatoes, peppers, and really any other furnishings with cheese, salsa, and sour cream. It was amazing. And then I froze part of it, and when I took it back out and heated it up, it was just as amazing the second time.
Oh, she's speaking my language. I love freezer meals.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
I
that sounds really
I love
good.
being able to use a spaghetti squash as a substitute. It's the best.
And yeah, I felt
Awesome.
so healthy too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Ellie. We really, really enjoyed this conversation. And you're just such a lovely person, and I just can't wait for people to hear this. So thank you.
Thank you both so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We wanted to just mention really quickly that we talked about edible a couple times in this podcast, and we wanted to just shout out to edible communities and edible magazines. So, edible magazines are local magazines that you can find in your area that have stories focused around food and restaurants and food culture, farming, agriculture, a whole lot of stuff.
Thanks so much for listening to the Plant Eat podcast. We hope that you'll subscribe to this show so you get an update every time we launch a new episode. And if you're interested in any of the recipes we share on our podcast, you can go to planty.com/PTEPOD.